Hello. I don't know why I always do that. I like to sing my hellos. Hey, Facebook. How are y'all feeling tonight? How y'all doing tonight? All these freckles and moles on my face. How y'all doing? I think I got did some of my facial care. Before God just threw me out here tonight. So, hello, y'all. Come on in. Come on in. Hey, Mike. Hey, y'all. Look, this is literally, I was not going to go live tonight. I literally was not going live tonight. I just took my braids down. My sister came over and helped me. And I literally am still sitting here with conditioner on my head. And I was like, God, really? Like, we're going to have this discussion right now tonight. And so, he wanted to have this discussion tonight. So, hey, Brenda Pierre. So, y'all share the live, tag somebody. It's going to bless you because it blessed me as I was taking my braids down. Y'all know when I'm near water, washing my hair, deep conditioning it, getting it all back to its natural roots for the next couple of days before I transition to another hairstyle. I was just spending time with God tonight. I was in here taking my braids down. I was on the phone with a girlfriend. Before I talked to her, I was hey y'all, come on in. Before I talked to her though, I was just talking to God. And I was sharing with him that hey Adrian, I was sharing with God that I felt like I don't spend enough time with him. Hey Nancy. That I don't spend enough time with him because I have been struggling to get up back to my routine of 5 a.m. And so for a solid year of 2019, I was up 5 a.m. every morning, spending time. Hey, Jess, spending time with God. And so here, I don't know, the past couple months, it's been hard. And just to get my body up, like just getting into that routine has been hard. And so as I was taking my hair down, I was just talking to God and sharing with him, just sharing with God, just where I feel or, where I felt I was, and where I wanted to be. And look, Adris, Jesus is Calling is my favorite devotional. And I will read my devotional every single morning. But like getting up and getting in my closet has been a struggle. And I'm a closet prayer. Like I obviously I pray with my kids at night, stuff like that. But like my time with God is literally spent in my closet. And so I was just sharing with God just kind of where I was with that. And just, how I never want him to feel like I'm taking him for granted. Because I listen to, obviously y'all see, if you have my app, all the content that's on my app, all the stuff that I put out, like I listen to those sermons. Like I don't just put out stuff, hey Lavette, that I don't personally listen to. So anyhow, I was on the phone with a girlfriend and we were just talking, and as we were talking, God began to just to really pour into both of us. And so she said, Lauren, you've got to talk, somebody got to hear this. And I was like, I still got more stuff to do. I'm trying to comb out my hair, get the kids. I'm doing all kind of stuff. Like I'll talk about it whenever, alive. I'll do something. So as I'm in the shower and I'm listening to a live that I call her affectionately mother, but she's Candy Baylor's mom, Pastor Alicia Taylor. She's one of my spiritual mothers outside of my own mother. And she had shared a live that I actually attended the service. And so as I'm taking my shower, I'm washing my hair. And God said, "This time, no, you need to share it before you go in." And oh, good, Adrian. Yeah, that's my favorite. I mean, like her second book of Jesus is Calling. But God said, "No, you need to share it. You need to share the conversation that you had earlier. You need to share it before you sit up here and work some more," because I'm still sitting here working. And so earlier the conversation was, have you cut your dead ends? So as I was taking my hair down and we were talking, hey Delisa, and we were talking, y'all share my live, tag your friend. It's going to bless somebody because it has literally blessed me tonight. I was taking my hair down and I was talking, and I said, have you cut your dead ends? And God, as I was taking my hair down and thinking about it, the benefits of it for the men that'll watch this live at a different time of night, or whoever, or if you don't trim your ends, you need to be trimming your ends. For women, it's very important that we trim our ends in order for our hair to grow healthy, longer, stronger. And as I was thinking about that, taking my own hair down, God said, I can do more with you when you cut the waste of you off. And as I was just talking and flowing and just thinking about what God was saying, hey, Ashley, and thinking about what God was saying and the benefits of cutting off you're cutting your ends, I said, wow, God. And I thought about the season that God had to clip my ends. And, if you get your ends clipped, you're supposed to be clipping your ends at least, I don't know, every 6 weeks or so. So, you one of them people who wear sew-ins all the time or protective styles. Even when you're going from one protective style to the next, you still should be deep conditioning your hair and cutting and trimming your ends before you go into another style. And God said the reason that a lot of us are not we're not growing stronger or going longer or going further than what we should be is because we're not trimming our ends. And a lot of us are holding on to the length because we want long hair, but it ain't healthy. We want long hair, but it's stringy on the ends. And so as I began to talk with my girlfriend, and we were just sharing, and I said to her, I said, that's the thing that people don't want to do. A lot of times we trying to get to a certain length that we'll do anything. We'll even keep the dead ends on our hair that we know should be cut off in order to appear as if we have longer hair. But how many of you know that long hair don't mean it's healthy? And a lot of us, we wanting to go to the next level, and we're wanting God to open up his hands, and we're wanting God to show us next level blessings and take us to the next level. But God's saying, I won't show you until I can cut your ends first. Can you trim your ends? Can I trim your ends first? You want healthy hair, but you don't want to trim your ends. And as I thought about that, I said, wow, God, it's time for another trim, because one thing about trimming ends, you don't just trim your ends one time. You trim your ends like every so often. You're supposed to trim your ends. And if you got a good hairstylist for women, your hairstylist shouldn't let you walk out the door knowing you need to get your ends trimmed. She's supposed to trim them and tell you about it later. And God said the issue with us is that we don't want to trim our ends. And not only that, we'll go longer. We'll know we need to trim our ends, but we'll go longer without doing it, right? Because we're trying to get to this certain length, because we think that this certain length is going to make us so happy that we don't realize that even when we get to the certain length, if we go longer, that just means that when we finally trim our ends, we got to cut off more hair. He said, sometimes I got to cut off more because you took so long to make the decision to cut it. Had you cut it at 6 weeks, instead of waiting to 9 weeks, 10 weeks, I wouldn't have to cut off as many inches that I had to cut off. But because you refused to cut off when you knew you were supposed to, now that you coming to me and now that you ready to be cut, now that you ready for it, you ready for this healthy growth, now I got to cut off so much more than what I would have had to cut off had you just been obedient when you knew it was time for your trim. That blessed me. Hey, Chastity, that blessed me. Tag your friends, share my live, because I'm telling you, it's going to bless somebody. People going to start trimming their ends. Men and women going to start trimming their ends in the season. God said it's fourth quarter. And you ready. You asking me to take you to the next level. You're asking me to help you move and birth this thing, right? We're in the last trimester. The last season of it. The 9th month is the birthing month. God said, but you're not ready. Because you won't even trim your ends. You won't even cut off that attitude that you should have been cut off. You won't even cut off those people that you knew were not helping you. You won't even cut off those men that you were entertaining that only sent you back to the place you had to die to leave in the first place. You worrying about blocking them, but you're not worrying about blocking your blessings. You worried about what somebody gonna feel like because they got blocked. No, some people need to be blocked. Some people don't need to have access to you. Where you are headed, some people don't need access because even if they had access, the altitude is too high up there for them. Either they gonna die up there or die trying. And God said in this season, it's time. It's time out for that. It's time out for us trying to keep length and substitute health. Many of us, that's our issue. We want to keep the length. But we're going to substitute out the health. We're going to forfeit the healthy hair because we worried about the length. And why are you worried about the length? Because you're trying to compete with somebody else. Y'all remember when we was in school, especially the girls. My grandma used to tell me, I used to tell my grandmother all the time, Granny, I'm going to let my hair grow all the way down to my butt. I'm never going to cut it. Hey, Dawaski, I'm never going to cut my hair. I'm never going to cut my hair. I used to tell my granny all the time, I'm never going to cut my hair. She said, yeah, you will. One day you're going to cut it. And I had long, beautiful hair. And I used to always want to show my cousins, Tiffany and Candace, how long my hair was. But is the length worth the health? Is the length worth the health? And so God began to just speak to me as I was taking my hair down. He said, that's the reason many of you are not growing, because you're not willing to cut your ends, the dead ends, the dead in relationships, the dead places that God has not called us to. Hey, Jamal, the dead situations. Why are we reviving dead situations? Because we was bored. God said, okay. God said, why are you playing with me? This is how God talks to me. He don't care where I'm at, what I'm doing. He just come right on in and will just take over. He said, why is it that we not, why? You ask, why is God people not growing? It's not because they don't have purpose. It's because they don't want to go through pruning. And he reminded me, he said, and I think, Chastity, you shared this on your page about everybody wanting to be a butterfly, but nobody wanting to be a cocoon. That was from Pastor Keon Henderson. And as I thought about that, I said, correct, God. I said, the issue is we don't like being the caterpillar, but the caterpillar at some point becomes the butterfly. And what the enemy wants us to do is die in our caterpillar phase. Because if we die in our caterpillar phase, we'll never get to the point where we are flying high like the butterfly. If we die in our caterpillar phase. And so as I thought about that, and as I thought about what Pastor Keon Henderson said in his sermon, and just me listening to the word of God as much as I do, I said, God, I've got to be at that place, God. And I begin to tell God, I need you to start cutting people, places, and things out of my life that are dead ends for me. Because God, I don't want to hinder anything. God began to show me men, black men that God is wanting to do great things through. And a lot of what they're wanting and what they're desiring and where they're headed to go, I have an anointing for. And I said, God, I just want you to put me in a place where I'm nothing less than the PA system for what you want. I want men and women to know when they hear my voice, not that it's me, but that you heard them. And you heard them the first time. And you heard the silent cries. And you heard the moments when they didn't have nobody to tell how they was feeling. And they didn't know how to express their vulnerability, and how they didn't have nobody to tell that they were hurting. God, I just want that when you utilize my prophetic gift, that is nothing more than a confirmation that they have truly touched you. So whatever is taking me from that space of there, where I can't activate the right way, when I can't hear you the right way, God, cut my dead ends off. God, cut my dead ends off. And God said, let that be your prayer tonight. As many of you have my app, the Purpose app, you know I send out the nightly prayer, and I always send out worship music to go with it, because there's something about a sound that God wants to hear, people of God. And God is tired of us complaining about us not growing and us not going to the next level and us not doing this, and we just yada, yada, yada about God. When we going to do it? He said, when you going to cut them dead ends? You want to walk around acting like your hair is long, but it's unhealthy. And how many of us are in unhealthy? Our hair is unhealthy. And you know, the other thing about cutting ends is God never cuts the root. It's not the root of your hair that determines if it needs cutting. It's the ends of your hair. Nobody ever says to you, hey, Donna, have you cut your roots? They say, have you cut your ends? That means that the seed is always going to be good no matter where it's at. It's not about the seed that you must cut. It is about what is attached to it. No one looks at a tree. I'm from the country. Opelousas, born and raised, Plaisance area. Country girl. Nobody says, that tree, that seed, that apple seed is bad. They say the tree is bad. What they see. And many of us will walk around acting like our hair is healthy, and everybody that's looking at you see you need your ends trimmed. And the only way to hide that you need it trimmed is to wear it in a bun. Many of us like to wear us a good high bun and lay our edges down. Why? Because now you can't see that our hair really greasy and it's on day 5 and we really need to wash it. But we're trying to be presentable to who? Others. God said, I can't use you trying to be presentable. I need you to be real. And so I began to tell God as I was taking my hair down and dealing with my hair, I began to tell God, I need you to cut anything out of my life. Any dead end that is attached to me, I need it gone. I need my hair to grow and grow rapidly. God said, and he reminded me, he said, remember how quick your hair grows when you cut the dead ends? Have you trimmed your ends lately? Mother, y'all see my mother on here, Pastor Alicia Taylor. That's one of the greatest women God had ever made outside of, her and Candy Bailey and my mama. But I'm telling you, mother, people got to get ready to cut their ends. Many of us are not growing because we won't cut the dead ends. We won't cut the toxic behaviors. We won't cut the toxic conversations. We ain't shooting down the negative talks. We still having them. We still having them with ourselves. And so when we wondering, God, why is it that my hair isn't growing? God said it's not growing because you won't cut it. You won't cut it. You want to keep telling me what you can't do. You want to keep telling me where you can't go. You want to keep telling me what you can't be. God said everything you needed to be great, I put in your seed. The butterfly ain't a butterfly before it's a caterpillar. It's not. So many of us are in the cocoon phase. Many of us are in the season of cocoon. And we're hidden, and we're wondering, God, why are we hidden? God, when are people going to see? When are people going to see my greatness? When are people going to start affirming me? God said, but I'm pruning you to fly. You are preparing to scoot, but I'm preparing you to fly. It ain't the same thing. It ain't the same thing. Because when you scooting, you worried about everything. When you're a caterpillar, you got to worry about the ants. You got to worry about the grasshoppers. You got to worry. There's so much stuff that you got to worry about. And you don't want to birth that thing prematurely. But God said, that's why you haven't gone where you need to go. That's why many of us have not grown through COVID. Many of us have not grown through COVID because we're too busy blaming it when God said, I sent it here to show you who I always called you to be. If pressure makes diamonds and you say that you're going, then you got to show me that you're willing to go through the fire. Many of us don't understand Why we had to lose this relationship. Why this person had to walk away, God? Why that person had to walk away, God? God, why did my ego have to walk away? God said, because I couldn't use that way. That's a part of your dead ends. Your hair wasn't healthy. You ever saw somebody, the hair health, it's about right here, and the rest of this just stringy? But they want to swing their hair and tell you how pretty their hair is. Excuse me. Baby, I'm not jealous of unhealthy hair. Give me this length right here and healthy ends. I don't want long hair that's unhealthy. I want to grow, God. And so God said, in order to grow, you must be cut. So many of you who are concerned about why it seems like God is cutting you, why it seems like God is asking so much of you, why does it seem like God wants you to do all the stuff that he ain't never asked you to do before? It's because you're asking him to do ordinary things that you've never asked him to do before. And you got to be prepared for that. Stop asking God to do stuff that you ain't really prepared for him to do. Stop asking him to do stuff that you ain't really prepared for him to do. Because when he do it, he mean it. It's the thing about a butterfly is it never goes back to being a caterpillar again. Once it's a butterfly, it's always a butterfly. That's the thing about it. It never goes back to being a caterpillar ever again. It may scoop. You may go through a season. You may go through the seasons where you having to be pruned and God's having to take you through all these different types of changes and stages. But the end result never goes back to the beginning. Have you ever seen an apple turn back to an apple seed? Once it's a fruit, it's always a fruit. Once it goes through the process and it never goes back. So why do you keep going back to people, places, and things that God had to grow you out from? He had to send you. He had to kill you to save you. Some of us, he had to kill me to save me. Oh God. I text my parents tonight. I took my hair down and I said, and my grandmother, who is my mother, my daddy's mom, she grayed at an early age, right? She's all white. And thankfully, I had the blessing of having my great grandmother. My children have the blessing of having their great grandmother. And I text my parents tonight and I said, oh my God, Mama and Daddy, I got a gray hair. My daddy said I was getting old. And then he told me it was a blessing that I was allowed to have gray hair. And then my mama said, you got wisdom. Look at all that you're doing. You got wisdom. God always gives us evidence of what's in us. So that's why you ain't got to question. That's why you ain't got to question. Where you going? What you doing? God said, what I put in you is in you. Some of us are battling and we fighting against the very thing that God has called us to be. He said, when you surrender and cut them dead ends, you're going to become who you've been begging for. You're going to become who you've been begging to be. You're going to become who you are begging to be. But you got to cut the dead ends first. And cutting the dead ends means that you got to trust the person that's cutting. Thank you, God. You got to trust the person that's cutting. You know the ones, especially women, y'all know the ones that scissor happy. Y'all be like, girl, don't go to her because she's scissor happy. You tell her trim the ends, girl, you come out with a bob. God said, you got to trust the one that holds the scissors. He's the one that holds the scissors. Will you trust him to trim your ends? Many of us, the reason we ain't getting our ends trimmed because we too busy trying to turn around in the chair and tell God exactly how far he need to cut. Okay, God, now don't cut this part right here, God, because see, and then cut over here, God. You don't do hair. Whose school you went to? You ain't cut nobody hair but a baby doll when you was 10, and you trying to tell God how to cut your. That's the number reason why you ain't went where you supposed to go. God said you ain't going where you're supposed to go because you're too busy turning around in the chair trying to tell me how to cut. But how many of you have had your hair cut before and you know whenever they doing them straight bobs and they trying to get that stuff even all the way around, you got to sit up with your back straight and your feet flat on the floor. You can't even sit with your legs crossed, or it's going to mess your cut up. See, I'm teaching y'all tonight. It's going to mess your cut up if your legs are crossed. When you getting that haircut, you got to be straight, not moving straight ahead. Why? Because God's trying to cut it. He's trying to cut it around the whole way. I told y'all this was going to be good. Tag your friends and share. Because somebody needs to hear this before they go to bed tonight. You know, I know 9 o'clock I sent out the nightly prayer, but this should be your prayer tonight. God, cut off all dead ends that are keeping me from growing healthy. God, cut off those dead ends that are keeping me from growing healthy. You blocking them don't mean that you don't like them. It just means you love your purpose. And they ain't conducive for it. You not answering the phone don't mean you acting funny. It means you are about your Father's business. That's what that means. Everybody don't need to have access to where you going. You are in the 4th quarter, and for those of you who are on this live that have ever had a baby before, you ain't never had no baby in the room in the waiting lounge where everybody just walk around and see you cook, see the child coming out. Why? You in the room is private. You're in the room and it's private. Who's there? Maybe the father, maybe your mom, and the doctor and the nurses that have the capacity to handle what's about to happen in the room. Some of you got too many people in your room. You trying to give birth in the middle of Walmart. God said no. You give birth is private. Everybody and their mama ain't in the room when you up here trying to push out life. Some of you, God is trying to push life out of you right now. You're in the birthing month. But you got too many people in the room. And you're wondering why you're not elevating. And in this season, God is calling our men, our black men. And black men, I need you to hear me. And I need your spirit to hear me and hear me very clearly. God is taking you somewhere higher than where you've ever been. Culture not going to be able to take you where God is taking you. Some of you men, God has been giving our men dreams. God have been giving you visions. God have been talking to you. God has been making you get out there and do things that other people are saying, oh, that's crazy. Oh, you doing that? That's what you're doing. Oh, that's crazy, girl. He done left his job to go do this. No, he left his job to go pursue who God's called him to be. You call it crazy in one season, but in another season, you're going to call it purpose. So black men, it is super important, and I'm specifically calling you out because that's who God put on my heart. It is very important that the people that you surround yourself with that are entering your ear gate are people that know God, that love God, and that are not afraid to say, this is who God has called me to be. No, I don't know where I'm going, but I noticed what God said. I just got to be obedient because in this season, God is looking to see how many of y'all going to cut off the waist. You are the heads of our homes. You are the seed. Men, if we want to get down, we can get down however you want to get down tonight. You are the seed. We are the soil. So that means it's really important where you plant yourself. Because where you plant yourself, men, and men hear me clearly, where you plant yourself in this season is truly going to determine how well your seed grows. So if you know a man, he needs to be listening to this live. You need to tag him. You need to privately send it to his inbox. You need to wake him up, pause the game. Baby, where you carry the seed. And it's very important in this season. Hey, Maisha, it's very important in this season that where you plant your seed, that you are very particular about it, because men, what you plant is what grows. A woman can only grow what's planted. So if you plant watermelon seeds, we ain't pushing out peaches. Just because you really wanted a peach, what you planted watermelon seeds. That's why it's important where you planting your seeds in this season, men of God. Stop trying to fit in. God's calling you to stand out. We are at the end of this thing. We're at the end of this thing. And where you plant in this season is going to determine how you eat in the next one. Because you don't eat the same day that you plant your seed. So where you plant in this season is cuffing season. Be concerned about where you plant. Be concerned about where you plant, men of God, because wherever you plant is where you shall eat when the harvest time comes. And I need men to know that. I began to ask God, I said, God, I know that I'm called to men, God. I specifically know I have a huge woman following, but I've always had a greater male following. And I said, God, I know that I'm called to men. I know that I'm called to speak to their purpose. I know that I'm called to pull out. Because for me, it's not about me. It's not about accolades. It's not about any of that stuff. It is about planting a healthy garden. See, my life is only to bring God glory. I ain't really here for much else. All that other stuff that y'all here for, I'm not really here for all that. I told somebody earlier tonight, death is a privilege. So that means I'm not here for that. I'm working to work. Because that's the privilege, right? That's the privileged life. The cemetery, they got a lot of people over there right now. They ain't worried about no mask. They ain't worried about voting. They ain't worried about tax season. They ain't worried about Christmas time. They ain't worried about virtual learning. They're not worried about that. You are. And so as I'm here, I told God, I said, God, begin to just use my lips. Use me, God. Humbly. Because I ain't got nothing else. All I want is to be used by you. So if my desires are getting in the way of your desires for my life, God, cut them ends. Cut my ends. Because God is he's calling up a standard in our men that he has never called up before. And it is important that women of God, that you make sure that you have a conducive soil. Because the enemy is coming to attack the womb. Because the thing about the seed in the womb is that it ain't going to grow if both of them ain't working. It ain't going to grow if both of them ain't working. He can plant a seed, but if your womb can't carry the baby, you still going to have a miscarriage. You're still going to have a miscarriage. So in this season, God is asking us. He's telling us, what are you willing to cut? Are you willing to trust me with the scissors? Are you willing to trust me with the scissors? Many of us are still going off old things we heard back in the day. Men can't get vulnerable. Men can't do this. Let me tell you something. The word of God says, if you can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. And if greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. And this sounds like to me, you better learn how to get vulnerable, because that's what prayer is. Prayer is vulnerability. Prayer is an open dialogue discussion between you and God, where you really get to get honest about who you are and who you've been faking. Yeah, that's what prayer is. Prayer is vulnerability. Prayer is intimacy. That's exactly what it is. So for those of you who've been telling yourself what you can't do and who you can't be and where you can't go and what you can't and you can't, you know what, you can't. And that's why your ends look like they need trimming. And whoever call themselves your beautician, you need to fire them, because they should have loved you enough to not let you leave their chair, knowing good and well that your ends needed trimming and they didn't even address you. But in this season, God said, it's addressing time. You want to know why you're not growing? If you're a man, check your soil. Where you put your seed at? On the concrete? You ever saw? Yeah, who ever saw a garden planted on the concrete? My grandparents had a garden, and I used to help them keep that garden up. And I ain't never seen us ever. My granny ain't never had us shucking corn out of the concrete. So if you're a man, you need to understand that where you plant your seed is important to your harvest. Where are you planting yourself? Are you too busy still trying to tell them same lies, and you ain't been honest about, you really do miss your dad. You really do wish you had XYZ relationship. You really have struggled with just being open with yourself. You never really did think about how that last relationship broke you. No, you really ain't. Nobody ever told you to heal. They just told you, go get somebody else. Are you going to be real? We're going to get real tonight. We're going to get real tonight. Because God said it's time out for that. We keep wanting to plant broken seeds on concrete and then get mad because we ain't got no garden. Having a garden takes work. Having a harvest takes work. Stop asking for something that you ain't ready to really produce. You got a lot of people who talking about, I want to find my purpose. You ain't even ready to, you can't even cut your ends on time. You talking about, well, it's just going back up under a wig, girl. Ain't nobody gonna see it. And then when the hair down there, girl, my hair down in here. But all of this dead. So now it's back up to here. We don't even know you grew because it died. Because you weren't properly maintaining, taking the time to maintenance your hair. When you don't take care of a thing, when you don't understand a thing, you won't know how to handle it. And so what you do, you miscarry it. When we don't know how to handle a thing, that's what we do. When we getting in and out of these relationships and we using people like pawns and we playing with people's time. Men and women of God, God is sick of that. How can he grow a family tree and you can't stay with your family? Oh, we're gonna go ahead and go there tonight. How we gonna have a healthy garden and you just planting anywhere? You planting in the wrong season. You don't even have the right mulch out here or soil. You ain't even tilled it right. You barely come outside. Help me understand. Hey, Charles, help me understand. How are we expecting a harvest, but we don't take care of our garden? God says it's time out for that. It's time out for that. That season is up. So for all of us who've had that moment with God where we like, God, we want to go higher. He said, good. Can I trim your ends? Can I trim your ends? Can I talk to you about where you've been planting your seed, man of God? Can I talk to you about why your purpose hasn't been fulfilled? Because you're too afraid to leave the job. You're too afraid to leave the steady income. You're too afraid to leave the benefits, but then they don't really cover you that much, but at least you can say you got some. God said, I'm calling you out. I'm asking you to follow me. I'm asking you to follow me. I'm asking you to live for me. Can you live for me? Are you too busy trying, or is it too hard? See, everybody want a garden, but everybody want the harvest. They don't want the garden, Chastity. They don't want the work. They're not trying to come out there and pull the weeds. They're not trying to do all that. They just want to show up when it's done and not realize that it was work that got to this point. I tell people all the time, God asked me in my most broken season to plant a seed. Mother on here, she'll tell you, Pastor Lee, she'll tell you, she been there with me. I can honestly say, when God asked me to sow my seed, he said, you gonna trust me? 2018, that man said, you gonna trust me? Do you trust me enough to leave your 10-year marriage, your almost $500,000 house, your fancy cars, your exotic vacations, your field trips everywhere you want to go? Will you trust me for purpose? Will you trust me for purpose? Hey, Anna, will you trust me for purpose? That's what God asked. And he asked me in a season where it was evident that it was nobody but him. It was evident. I don't have to prove to nobody who I am, what I've gone through, how I know what I know, why I got one strand of gray hair. I don't have to prove it to nobody. He said, come on, just trust me. And cutting my ends was the best decision I ever made. Trimming my ends was the best decision I ever made. Because Mama said tonight, I said, Mama, I got great hair. She said, yeah, but you got 4 businesses. I really wanted to tell Mama she miscounted. I'm up to 7. But I ain't even go there tonight. During COVID, God allowed me to go through. But God said, are you willing? Are you willing? I had to cut all of that. Toxic behaviors, toxic conversations, relationships that weren't going nowhere. God said, cut it. You want to grow like you telling me you want to grow? You going to have to cut it. You ready to cut? You ready to go against everything you ever heard? You willing to go against the things you've told yourself? Are you willing to trust me like you've never trusted me before? And he never promised me it was going to be no easy ride neither, because it wasn't no easy ride. I cried many a days. That's how I knew how to get in that closet. I went from praying in the bed, praying on the side of the bed on my knees, to just flat out being in the closet. That's how bad it was some days. But I promised him something. I told God, I said, God, I don't know where I'm headed with this. I just know I want to help people heal. That's all I know, God. He said, okay. That's all you got to know. Is that you're willing to let your pain and your trauma be the platform that takes you to the next level in me. Not for yourself. In me. So then he began to cut. I gave him the scissors. And I turned around and I put my feet flat on the ground. I didn't have them crossed. I wasn't shaking my leg. You can't sit there and shake your leg while you're getting your hair cut, because then they're going to miss your hair. They're going to miss the cut up. And I sat there and I let him cut. And I watched, the hurtful part is when you got to watch your hair fall on the side of your chair. That's the part that makes some of y'all cry. When you got to watch, when you got to watch that hair fall on the side of the chair, you like, but God, I just got it down my back. He said, yeah, but it was dead. Yeah, you got it down your back, but it was dead, beloved. So do you want healthy hair? Or do you want to appear to have long hair while everybody walking around talking about, when's she going to trim her ends? She don't realize that, that's the thing about when you go too long, it gives a distinction. It gets real distinct that your hair is unhealthy. And people can literally walk up to you and say, this is the line right here that need to be cut. And some of you are in relationships where people are walking up to you that you don't even know, saying, this is the line that needs to be cut. You got some people like, well, I don't tell people. I tell people. Because I ain't got time. It's time to cut that. Yeah, I don't know. Don't listen to grandma and them. No. It's time to cut them. I mean, it is. Let people be free in Jesus' name. It's not. You're not the Lord. They're not here to serve you. They're here to serve God. If they serving you, now you they God. Do you want to go back and forth with God or nah? Period. No. It's time out for that. We spent years selling lies and dreams. That's why our gardens looking like they looking. Cause they full they full of fruit that can't even grow. Half of y'all still waiting on the tomatoes. You gonna be waiting too. That's what people not telling you. That's not the truth. And so God said you start seeing the line. The longer you go without getting them ends trimmed, we know exactly where it need to be cut at. At this point, my 6-year-old been telling, Mama, when she gonna cut her hair? Anybody can tell you that you need to get your hair cut. Everybody telling you. God said, I'm not, until you get obedient. And so God began to cut my hair. God began to cut my hair. And let me tell you what was so funny. When I was a little girl, I used to be so mad at my mama because my mama relaxed my hair when I was young. See, back in the 1990s something, I was born in 87. Natural curly hair wasn't it. It was all about relaxed hair. It wasn't about curly hair. So, hey, Tanisha. So I thought all my life I never had curly hair. So, I don't know, probably about 6 years, I never wore my real hair. I would just, continue to, I look my auntie on here. I would continue to just wear weaves, trim my ends, and sometimes even relax my hair, put a weave back on. And one day Jocelyn said, see, this is why you got to have a good stylist. Jocelyn said to me, she said, Lauren, why don't you just let your hair grow natural? Do you realize your hair naturally curls and waves? You know why I didn't know that it did? Because I wasn't looking at my roots. Look at these roots. I wasn't looking at my roots. I was looking at my ends. Come on, that's a word. That's a word right there. Some of us too busy looking at the roots. We forgot to look at the ends. It's not the root that grows, it's the ends. But bless God. Jocelyn said, let's start cutting off the relaxed parts each time and fully transition you. Because I wasn't cutting all my hair off. I'm too vain. Wasn't cutting my hair off. I won't walk around here with the big chop. I didn't have it in me. I'm just being honest. So Jocelyn began to each time, and it was so strategic because I was like, well, why don't you just cut off? She said, no. It's a process. Each time we change your wigs and your sew-ins, I'm going to trim some of it. And each time, every 6 weeks, Jocelyn was trimming. Yeah, she'd take my hair down. And some of y'all need to catch this word right here. It's going to bless you. Some of y'all, the reason your hair ain't curling up is because you won't leave it alone and let the process be the process. Some of us won't leave well enough alone and just let the process be the process. We too busy trying to rush the process. God, is it ready yet? God, is it ready yet? If it was ready, you ain't. So what does it matter? If it was ready, you ain't. How about you focus on getting yourself ready so when it's ready, you ready? That's the whole word right there. And so as Jocelyn began to cut my ends every time, I don't know, it took maybe almost 6 months or so. By the end of the process, I was completely curly, where I could wear my full curly hair. God said, what you was begging me for, I'd already put in you. The reason you didn't know that it was there because you kept tampering with it. Not only did you keep tampering with it, that's a whole word. You kept up what your mama started. Some of y'all, that's your problem. The reason you ain't got free yet, the reason your mouth still the way it is because you keeping up what your mama started. You keeping up what your grandmama started. Yeah, that's why you keeping up what your pawpaw started. That's why some of you can't get vulnerable in your relationships. Your relationships can't flourish the way they need to flourish. Heck, you can't flourish the way you need to flourish because you're still keeping up with somebody else started. But what happens when you just stop? God said, what happened when you just stop and let the process be the process? People didn't know I was transitioning my hair to curly hair. Heck, I don't even know how to do hair. That's why I thank God he gave me boys and I still be struggling. Because one of them got curly hair, like his mama. Yeah. And so God said, leave it alone. Let me hide it under your little sew-ins. Let me give you a preview of what you say you want. And now when you see my hair is naturally curly. I have a different respect for my hair that I didn't have before because I waited let's see here. This 2020, I think maybe like 2014, somewhere in there, I was able to start transitioning to natural hair. So that means I waited like all these years to have the hair that I was fussing at my mama about. God said it was already there. You didn't leave it alone. And not only did you not leave it alone, you continued to do what was started. What your mama started. She started getting relaxers. And so what did you do? Every time it got a little crunchy. Y'all know that crunch, black women, the crunch. That ain't a crunch, it's wavy hair. It's your natural root coming up. And so, oh God, that's a word. Sometimes we too busy trying to relax what's naturally there. God said, leave it alone. I put it there for a reason. Because you was going to ask for it later. I put it there for a reason because I knew you were going to ask for it later. And so what happens? Now, I don't have to wear a curly wig unless I just want my hair down my back, because my natural hair is the same thing it takes to keep up a curly wig is the same thing it takes to keep up this natural hair that's on my head. I can wear a wet and go as many times as I want to. So while you got some people buying to have what God already placed in my head. You got people buying the hair that God already placed on my head, but I didn't even know it was there. So I was getting on God's nerves. God, I wish I had curly hair like my classmate and like my cousin. Her hair wavy, God. Why my hair not wavy? God said, because you keep wanting everything to relax. You don't want to go through the process. And that's half of y'all problem right here on the live tonight. The reason you ain't got that yet. And look, my cousin on here, Francine Chenier, remember when I had straight hair? Franny always had pretty wavy hair, and I always wanted hair like Franny. And that's my cousin, and she on the live, so she can attest to it. I didn't have this kind of hair when me and Francine was coming up in grade school at Growley. I didn't have that. And so now, the very thing that I wanted, God said it was a process. God said it was a process. Many of us too busy trying to relax. God, when we going to relax? God, when we going to relax? But then we complain, but God, I want curly hair. Well, you can't have a relaxer and curly hair at the same time. You got to choose which one you want. Either you want to relax or you don't mind being processed. Which one you want? But all of that back and forth, where I'm trying to figure out who God calling me to be, cut it. If you ever want to become something, cut it. Let God hold the scissors. Let God start trimming away at you. Let God start cutting off your dead ends so your hair can grow. How you want to compete in the long hair award, but you don't want to cut your ends? Some people, they only look like they winning because they broken. Now, that's a whole word. Some people want to compete with the hair. Oh, my hair long. But, baby, it's frail. And that's what social media does to people. It make people look like they winning when they really broken. Baby, you didn't win. Your hair is unhealthy, and ain't nobody who looking at your hair even want to buy your hair off your head. You don't want to buy the hair off your head. You just holding on to the dead ends because you want to have a chance at being in the race. You want to have a chance at competing. I don't want to be walking dead just to compete with people that don't matter. No, God, I want my purpose. I want you to fulfill the purpose in me, the reason you designed me. So, God, tonight, God, and for those of you who are listening, those of you who are going to replay it, those of you who are going to send it to your friend tomorrow, they're going to go to the next one. Tonight, your prayer needs to be that God begins to cut everything, every dead end off, every dead end off, every dead end off. God, cut it off. If it's keeping me from growing closer to you, cut it off. God, if it's my phone, if I'm on it too much, God, cut it off. If it's the TV, if it's what I'm watching, if it's what I'm feeding my ear gates and my eye gates, cut it off, God. That's the season I'm in with God, because I'm in my birthing season. I'm pruning. I'm getting down. And I had natural birth, so I know what it's like. And one of them I had without anesthesia, so I'm a real woman. Okay, that really know what it's like to feel every single pain when you are at the end. of that thing, and you really feeling everything that they telling you is doing. Girl, it's sprouting up. It's crowning. I know what all of it feels like. And I ain't have no small children. One was 7 pounds, 13 ounces, and the other one was almost 8 pounds. I'm a small woman, but I carry big weight. And many of you got to know that you are giants in the body of Christ. Men of God, you are giants in the body of Christ. I don't care what society said. I don't care what that last relationship said. I don't care what that last relationship tried to take from you. She just wasn't the one, baby. She didn't take anything. She was exposing you. Because pain exposes us to purpose. We get exposed to God when we're going through. Let you get that COVID diagnosis. Get you, your relationship with God gonna go through the roof. Because when we going through, who do we want? We want the people that we trust the most, our parents. And most of us gonna want our mamas because they nurture us. That's what we want. So begin tonight as you go to bed, as you begin to fall asleep, begin to ask God, God, what is it in me that's keeping me from taking hold of what you want? Cut it off, God. Some of you have been in those stagnant places too long. You've been in those situationships too long. Baby, if you've been with this man 10 years and he still ain't gave you no ring, he don't value marriage or family. That's too long. Well, he ain't still saving for no ring. The devil is a lie. So some of these relationships we in, too long. Cut them ends off. I don't care what your mama said. I don't care what she said. No. Cut it off. Because God is trying to take you somewhere higher. You can't fly with the butterflies if you still scraping the bottom on your stomach like a caterpillar. Something got to get cut off. Some skin can't go. Men, the woman is favor. So if you ain't seeing your life change in a dramatic way that you begin to know that it ain't nobody but God, then that means she ain't it. I don't care how big her booty is. I don't care what kind of good job she got. I don't care how much cleavage she gonna show. I don't care how much she gonna let you do whatever you want to do. A person that let you do what you want to do don't love you. I just said that if you got a barber or if you got a beautician and they letting you walk around and your ends look a mess, they fire them. Fire them. They don't love you. Matter of fact, they don't love them. They don't love their craft. They don't respect themselves enough. Because a person that care about their craft ain't gonna let you walk around and be the example for they work. And you walking around looking like trash. Your hair looking like, did you get it done? When people start asking you how much money you spend, that mean go get your money back. Okay? That means it wasn't worth nothing that you just spent. And men of God, men ain't having these kind of conversations. Y'all too busy having them granddaddy conversations. And it's time out for that. If women are the soil and we're the garden, we can't reproduce good seeds until you become a good seed. Heal first. What did you learn in that last relationship that's preparing you for this one? You are the seed. So if the fruit is trash, what does the seed look like? Did you heal first? God did not make women Willis-Knighton hospitals. Did you heal first, woman? Or did you just go get somebody else? Did you heal first? That's what we need to be. These are the conversations we're not having in the community that look like mine. We're not having these kind of conversations. We too busy. Pray about it. He gonna change. No. Let me pray about me so I can change. Let me pray about me, God. I'm not praying about you. I'm praying about me. Me. This is my exodus, God. I need you to exit anything off me that you know can't go. That's what I need, God. God, if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, show me. Show me why I'm not there. Show me why I keep looking like I keep trying and I'm not there. God, I keep trying, but I'm not there. God, what did I miss a spot? Some of y'all only trim the bottom part. What about the top? The crown. Some of y'all need to trim them crowns. Some of y'all trimming crowns and no bottom and vice versa. It looks a mess. It looks a mess. And you trying to say, oh, girl, this just a little stagnant. No. I'm trying to make it look fuller. Just be full. Leave it alone. Stop touching it. Go through the process. Because once you curly for life. And when you go through the process, you manage that gift a whole lot differently. Jocelyn told me, she said, Lauren, if you put color on your hair, it's going to change the texture. Y'all know the last time I colored this curly hair? I don't even know. 10 years ago? I can't even tell you the last time I put color on my hair. My real hair. And this is my real hair. Because I'm not changing the texture. You know how long I waited to get this hair? I had to watch my cousin. She on here. She said, Francine, you can ask her. I ain't lying. I done had to wait all this time to get my hair like Franny's. I'm not changing. I'm not putting no color on my hair. Don't ask me. I'm going to color some weave. I'm not cut because I don't want to change the texture. I waited too long for this. I waited too long for this hair. I can walk out in the rain. I ain't running to the car because the wetter it get, the prettier it look. The wetter it get, the more pluff my curls have. So I ain't got to run to the car. When you relax, you got to run to the car. You got to, why? Because, baby, one little thing coming and now your natural going to come. Now you back, now you back your root. That root gonna start showing up again. I ain't got to do all that. I wear my curly hair in the summer only. Y'all got about a good 2 days on this hair and there's going to be a wig on here. Why? Because it's going to be protected. I'm not about to play with my hair. I don't know how to do twists out and all that. So guess what? I don't wear twist out hair in the time. I don't do all that. I don't do all that. Why? Because I don't know how to do all that to my hair. And I can't just be walking around with wet hair when it's cold. Because I'm going to get sick. And I got work to do. And I ain't got time to be sick. So what do? I protect my hair. Because why? That's important to me. I told Jocelyn, I started wearing my hair. I wear my hair from like about April, May till about this time of year, September. Jocelyn said, Lauren, people like when you straighten your real hair and we get all this engagement. Let me tell you something, sis. I'm not putting all that heat on my hair. Okay? I think I straightened my hair twice and I had a fit both times and I was mad. We fussed the whole. Don't ask me to straighten my hair again. I don't care what the engagement like. They going to engage with either a wig on my head or they going to engage with this curly hair. But I worked too hard and I waited too long for this type of healthy hair. I'm not doing it. Yeah, my hair pretty straight. Oh, good. Yeah. But guess what? That's not more important to me than the healthiness of my hair. Because when I had to go to Victoria Tills, who's the only person I let trim these ends and cut in this hair, get on this real hair, guess what? She said, Lauren, I had to go. I said, I like this cut, Victoria. She said, that's good. So she cut it up some and got it cute for me where I could wear my curls and it has this volume. And then she said, I had to cut a little more than what you showed me in the picture because some of your ends were dead. No, she said they were damaged. Heat damaged. Baby, I could have called Jocelyn, start fussing all over again. Heat damaged. So I know you like this cut, but I had to cut a little more off because you had a little heat damage. That's what happened when you ain't taking care of your stuff right. I almost fell out. But that's because that's important to me. And when you go through the process of life, people can't just play with your purpose. People can't just come up there and tell me, oh, I'm just trying to see. This is not Sam's. I'm not no sample. This is not Sam's. Where you just get full off samples all day and you know you're not going to buy nothing. No, see, when you got to go through a process for that purpose, you get real particular about where you land. You ever saw a butterfly sitting on dog poo? For those from the country, you ain't never seen no butterfly sitting on dog poo just perched there. Because you're going to be real particular about where you land. You're going to be real particular about where you land. And I'm joking, but I'm dead serious. Some of y'all put butterflies sitting on dog poo. Don't even, just done land on some crap. That's facts. That's what grandma and them not talking about. That's what your daddy and them ain't telling you. Some of y'all just straight landed on it. And you try to make it appear like it's beautiful. Yeah, you beautiful, but you in the wrong setting. Yeah, you beautiful, but you with the wrong person. Yeah, you beautiful, but everything around you stinks. So I can't really stand to even enjoy the majesticness of you. Because what you around, the environment, I can't even understand. That's the issue with us. And we so afraid to cut and move. Why? What you dealing with and what you doing ain't feeding you. Why are you afraid? Aren't you still hungry? Some of us sitting there, I don't know what I'm going to do if I leave her. Live. You're going to live bountifully, probably. You're going to be at peace. I shared with my girlfriend tonight. I remember going to bed in pieces. Now I go to bed at peace. I remember that season when God had to prune me. And I was in pieces. And I was wondering, God, when the pain going to end? God, when am I going to get over this? God, when? God, when? He said, only for a while. In due season. In due season. I understand now why he had to do me that. Because he knew temptations were going to come. He knew that the old things that I like was going to rise again. He knew that them old messages was going to come to y'all inbox. Y'all know the ones, hey, big head. You know them ones. Or the ones like for the birthday. Hey, happy birthday. They ain't cared about you all year. They ain't cared about you all year, sis. And sir, you could have been dead. They ain't even made it to the birthday. They didn't even know. God knew what you were going to be up against on War Day. That's why the process had to be so gruesome. Because he knew if that process was gruesome, you was going to act like you had some sense when it was time. Some of us, that's our struggle. We act like we don't have sense. And so God got to keep us longer than what he really wants us to stay in. Because we can't get right. We can't get right. God said he doesn't want you in pieces. He wants you at peace. God said, I don't want you in pieces. I want you at peace. But sometimes getting to the peace it's a process. LaBrie, that's it. That's people still be saying that mess. How you been? You already saw how I've been. Happy. I've been happy since you've been gone. That's how I've been. I've been blessed. My skin getting clear. My curls getting tighter. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing more business than I ever imagined. And when you trust God to be the one that does the cutting, then that means you can trust him to be the one that does the planting. And when you can trust him to do that, it's almost like you literally are not of this world. It's like stuff be going on, but it really don't pertain to you. It really don't be none of your concern at all. We went through COVID. I never stopped tithing. Mother on here. Mother tell y'all. I went through COVID. I never stopped tithing. Not one time. Because I told God in 2018, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you with everything I don't have, God. So look, you can feel how you want about it. I'm not really here to argue with you about it. Because frankly, I don't really care how you feel about it. I know what it has done in my life. I know where I'm headed. To whom much is given, much is required. You know, if you want big things, you're going to have to sacrifice in big ways. And so for me, I have not struggled. I have not struggled. My mother on here, that's right, mother. Pastor Lee she'll tell you. I call mother, I need a tithe. Come on, pray over me. It's important to have good, wisely counsel around you and people that truly have the heart for God. People that truly, truly know God. That truly know him. It's important. It's so important. It's so important. And so I just encourage you tonight that as you decide to go to bed, as you begin to just lay down tonight and you begin to think about how great God has been to you, begin to ask God to cut off the things that stunt your growth. Because everything that's ever grown great first had to be cut. Everything that's ever grown great first had to be cut. And when God begins to cut it, don't cry. Don't cry when you see that hair fall inside that chair. It was dead anyway. When I started combing my hair out tonight, I combed out hair. I wasn't worried about that. That's dead hair. I'm not trying to scoop it up. I'm not trying to only comb just a little bit. No, I want all the dead hair to go because I'm trying to grow and make sure that when I clean my hair, what is left is what was supposed to be there. God, that's what I desire. God, I ask that you leave me with the people that are truly assigned to help me grow. That should be your prayer tonight. God, lead me to soil that truly my seed can grow in, God. Especially if you're a man of God. Because God is calling you guys to start planting properly. Men of God. He's calling you to start planting properly. So begin to ask God, God, look, I need you to do that for me tonight. God, I don't want to keep placing my seed in bad soil, God. I don't want to keep giving myself to things that really aren't of you, God. If you really want more, God, you got to be willing to leave the lesser behind. Stop asking God for stuff that you don't really want. Don't tell God you really want fresh corn, but you still over there in the cans. Stop telling God that stuff. He know you're not fooling him. He know exactly what you can and cannot handle. You're not fooling him. He's not surprised. Nothing catches him by surprise. Those of you tonight who's hopped on my live and who've seen it, God is not catching him by surprise. He knew. My girlfriend called for encouragement and I was just taking my hair down and I just began to talk just like this. It was just nothing more than me just taking my hair down. And she said, you're going to have to go live. People got to hear this word tonight. And I was really thinking like, I really am okay. I'm really okay. I got some stuff to do tonight. I don't really have to do all of that. And the guy got on me while I was right in that shower washing that hair. He said, no, that's somebody that needs to hear what I have to say. Because see, it ain't me. I ain't got really nothing to say. Like it's not really, this not me. This be him. This him. This his thing. It's not me. All I ask is that, he trusts me enough to let me do what he trusts me to do. And so for those of you who are wondering, God, why am I not going further in you, God? Why am I not seeing manifestations, God? Why am I not attracting the right relationships that are going to propel me to my purpose? Begin to ask God what parts of you needs to be cut off tonight. What old thinking What old thinking do you still have that God can't use in this new season? God can't do a new thing with old oil. What is it that God is trying to do in this season for you? He's wanting to do something in this season. 2020 is not over. And the promises that God gave you in January 1, when we was all shouting and glad, they're still the promises. It's just pruning season. It ain't personal. It ain't personal. Stop thinking it's personal. No, God said it's just process. Some of us have lost jobs. Some of us have lost family members. Some of us have lost, and not just lost like they left. Some of them have died. Some of them have gone on to be with God. And we're still here wondering why. God said, because there's still mighty works. There's still mighty works. I still got the scissors. I'm still just trying to trim your ends. I'm still trying to trim your ends, beloved. Can you let me trim? So I just ask tonight that as you share my live, as you pray tonight, if you don't have my app, download the app, the Purpose app. I personally, those are my prayers at 9 p.m. Those are my worship songs that I listen to before you guys hear it. Those are sermons that I listen to before your ears ever hear it. And sometimes God makes me go to people specifically and tell them, hey, this coming to the app, but this quote got your name. You need to listen. Let me give you this. Because I want God's people free. I don't want them in bondage. I don't want them broken and busted and disgusted with themselves and still trying to figure out, God, why did you leave me here? I don't want that. So God, take everything. I don't need it. I don't want it. Y'all know that song? I don't need it, God. I just want you. I just want you, God. That's it. Take everything. And when you get to that point with God where you can tell him, take everything, I don't want it, I don't need it. That's when he know you're serious about growing. When you don't mind some of the leaves falling off. When you don't mind some of the petals falling off. When you don't mind it. When you're not crying over the dead hair that's going to just get, swept up. Hey, Dandelion, my sister's on here. When you don't mind that. God said, I can't grow you because you won't cut. Your hair stopped growing a long time ago. You thought it was growth because it was long, but it was unhealthy. That's why some of us are in dysfunctional relationships that are not propelling us closer to God. It's tempting us farther away from God. Don't you want to try this? No, I do not. Don't you want to go here? No, I'm good. Don't you want to? No, I don't. I'm really okay. Because the people that God got for you, they're not going to deter you from God. They're not going to think it's cute when you settling. They're not going to find it funny when you're not operating in your purpose. They're going to get irritated by you. That's right, Ms. Danae. Lord, give me you. Everything else can wait. Correct. The people in your life will be irritated by your stagnation. I get irritated with people. My clients know, especially my coaching clients, I'm quick to tell them, I'm sick of you. I'm sick of you. Some of us are sitting on our purposes. We are sitting on our solutions. You are the solution that the world needs. But you sitting on it and you complaining. This person ain't came and this person do this. The time you spent complaining, you could have birthed. God said, that's why I didn't use you. You wasn't ready. I used somebody else because they was ready. They didn't need the details. They just trusted me. They just had faith. They trusted me enough to give me the scissors, not look at the mirror, put their feet flat on the floor, sit there with their back straight up and let God begin to just cut. They trusted me enough to know that when they said, God, can you trim my ends, that I wasn't going to leave it unhealthy. They trusted me enough to know that I wasn't going to be left unhealthy. Why you cut all that off? Because it was that much was unhealthy. And so when you get to that point in your life where you're just like, God, I'm sick of me. I think the other night I put a prayer request out that basically said that, like, God, protect me from myself. I have moments when I have to tell God, just protect me from myself. Protect me from my selfish desires. Protect me from my selfish ways, God. Protect me from that wilderness mentality, thinking that it was so much easier when I didn't have this and I didn't have that, because that is the enemy's way of keeping you in bondage. He always want to remind you of when, because that's all he has. He don't know your future. And he praying you don't know it either. But when you begin to get in the face of God, God will show you. God will show you. He will show you who's meant to be there. I have so many misfit relationships. And what I mean by that is people that I would have never thought would ever fit with me. They fit right perfectly with me. And God said, because they weren't supposed to come in that season. Me and Candy, Pastor Alicia Taylor's daughter, me and Candy went to college together. We were never friends. Candy didn't come into my life until 2016. Candy came in my life 2016. I've been knowing Candy since 2005. Never had a conversation with her. Outside of one time, Candy sent me a message on Facebook and said something that I had on was pretty. I had never spoken a word to this woman. She is the greatest blessing that my life never knew it needed. God will send people in the seasons in which you're ready to receive. And she stretches me. She don't let me be. And I don't let her be neither. I would tell her in a minute, I'm sick of you. And that's the kind of people you want. But God said, you got to be ready for that. You got to be ready to hear those types of conversations and not be offended. You got to be ready to be called out so that way you can grow up. Some of us, we're not ready for them kind of conversations. We still think our hair healthy. Don't even realize it's been unhealthy all this time. You been lost. Today wasn't the first day. You been not acting right. Today wasn't the first day. It's not. It just so happened tonight you got on this live and you saw it, and there's going to be people that's going to see this live way months later after I'm done. Ain't even thinking about it no more. And they're going to say, you know what, God, I needed that. But God hid them for that time until they were ready. That's why every seed doesn't grow at the same time. That's why there is a thing called harvest season, because there is a season. There's a time for everything. And God said, now, tonight, the time is here. It's time to cut it. Don't ask me nothing else until you're ready to cut. Don't ask me to change your situation until you're ready to leave it. Don't ask me to elevate you until you're willing to decrease your ego. Don't ask me. Don't ask me why I still ain't blessed that relationship, because I didn't put it together in the first place. That's why I didn't bless it. Some of us, we think it's like some magic thing. I'm going to fast so you can know that God didn't give you that. God, I wasted my time. He said, I told you that 10 years ago, but clearly you didn't care. You wanted to continue to walk around with that foolishness. So here we are today. You wonder why everybody else elevating and you not. God said, because you like being a caterpillar. You don't want to be a butterfly. Because becoming a butterfly means you got to trust me. Do you want to do that? Oh, okay. Well, that same energy. That's just kind of where it sits. That's just kind of where it's at. And so in this season, God says, are you ready? Are you ready? Can you trim your ends? Men of God, can you watch where you plant your seeds? Some of it look like soil. Concrete wet too until it dry. Everything that look like it ain't. Everything that look, Delisa, that's nobody but God. Everything that look like it ain't. Where God is trying to take you, you got to get light. You got to get light. You got to get light. So I pray that something that I said tonight blessed you. I pray that something that I said tonight, I hope that I cut you. I hope that you got cut tonight. I hope that your feelings got hurt tonight. I hope that what you've been asking God for privately, that he heard, that my lips was the reminder that he heard exactly what you said, because he came down your street. Like I pray that. I pray that you stop settling tonight. I pray that you stop asking God that you stop asking God to be a butterfly just so you can sit on crap. I really pray that you don't stop doing that. I do. I don't feel bad about that. I do pray that that relationship that was never meant to flourish ends. I do. You know why? Because I want your purpose to begin. That's way more important than you trying to please boo-boo. Because if you and boo-boo together not trying to please God, then what we doing? We're being selfish. In the end, we're going to have to come back to him anyway. In the end, if you ever want to get healthy hair, you're going to have to cut it anyway. Question is, are you going to cut a little bit because you've been keeping up the maintenance on it? Or you going to have to do the big chop because you didn't let it go too long. It's got too much damage. That's what happens when we let stuff go too long. It gets too damaged and we have to cut off more than what we ever wanted. More than what God has asked us to. More than what God has asked us to. So tonight, be who God has called you to be. Stop hiding and acting like you don't really know God. Could depend on who you're around. If you know him, then you know him. If he got you, then he got you. If he promised you, then he promised you. That settles it. Stop asking. Stop asking tonight. This was your confirmation, because I'm sitting here working. I was about to put this shower cap on and let this conditioner sit. I wasn't worried about saying what I had to say, because me and God had our time in the bathroom while we were taking them braids down. We had our time. But God said, no, you must be obedient tonight, because there's some hearts that need fixing tonight. There's some people that need to hear me tonight, not me. I'm nothing. I'm nothing to nobody. I'm nothing to nobody. But needed to hear him tonight and to know that, yes, you got to cut it. And when you cut it, when you cut that hair, all you do is sweep it and you throw it in the trash. Nobody looks for dead hair. And dead hair in the sink only clogs it. Let that bless you tonight. Because God is in everything. I find God in everything that I do. Even the silliest, smallest things, I find God in everything that I do. How befitting is that when we cut our dead hair, all they do is sweep it and throw it in the trash. They don't put it in the sink because then it'll clog it. God, I don't want to be clogged. I don't want you to cut my dead hair only for me to sit it in my sink. Now I can't, my water not running out right. So don't ask God to cut something that you only want to savor and put it in your sink. Because then it costs money for somebody to come and unclog it. Or you got to go to Walmart, get the snake thing. And it'd be so nasty because you got to go in there and get that snake thing and unclog it. You'd be like, ugh, it's nasty. But God said that's why it was dead. It belonged in the trash. You put it in the sink. And you let it sit there until your sink got backed up. So some of y'all need to go clean your sink. Some of y'all need to cut the hair, throw it in the trash can. Some of y'all just need to be obedient and give God the scissors and turn around. Stop looking. Trust the process. Trust the process. I love you guys on purpose. I pray that you were blessed tonight. I'm going to stay up for a little while longer, and I'm going to work the work that he has given me to do, and continue to just enjoy my time with him. So I love you guys. Please share the live, and I'll be live scheduled on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Thursday at 8 p.m. Forgive me, with Carlton. We'll be talking about removing the mask, the woman's edition. So men, if you want to know why women hide behind the mask, Women, if you want to know how to remove your mask, just come on in the room, because on Thursday I'm going to be on the hot seat. And I've been spending my time with God, so I know that he's going to show up and show out in a mighty way for you on purpose. So I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it. If you don't have the app, go download it. The Purpose app, go get it. Go get it. Go get it. Go get it. It's some great stuff on there for you. So anyhow, I will let you guys go. Y'all have an amazing night. Bye.